Hello, everybody. Creatively Connecting. Today is day 31. We are entering our second month together. I have the amazing Mr. Ray Amiri with us today. We are going to do a series of health and wellness episodes specifically on his journey. For those that know me, you know I'm a health and fitness nut. Many think it's extreme. Right now, I'm 43 hours on my fast. We'll get into details about that later, but I'm definitely in a little bit of a Zen place right now. But we're going to do a series of episodes. And I wanted to bring Ray on simply because he's had such a massive transformation in the last couple of years, mentally and physically. But his physical transformation has really been amazing because I've seen firsthand when someone hasn't seen him in 2 or 3 months, the way that they speak, holy moly, how much weight have you lost? And just how it impacts them. So I want to be able to take the impact that you have and get it out to all the listeners out there to help people begin this journey. So we talked a little bit earlier, but we're going to really hit on 3 main things that all of you can do to get in the game and stay in the game. And that's what Ray's going to share with you, really how this journey began and how he's been able to stick to it. So Ray, I'm going to hand it over to you, brother, and really just starting from the top, what really got the ball rolling for you? Because so many people, the hardest part is taking that first step.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. It started off in a very funny way, but I think we've all had plenty of signs in our lives, whether it's our doctor that tells us, hey, you should probably start diet or exercise, or you just look at yourself in the mirror, or you feel tired or lethargic or cloudy and you're like, I need to start going to the gym. And I think I was kind of in that same boat. And sometimes you try something for a day or two and then you get off of it. But really, I mean, on my part, and if you guys know me well, I'm pretty disciplined. And it was just really the mindset of, you know what, I'm going to start doing this and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to change it. And I'm going to give this thing a run and see where it goes. The reason I got to be at that place, I actually did some blood work and, I got my annual physical in and my cholesterol had just gone really high, pretty much through the roof. And my doctor wanted to put me on some medicine. And if you know me, I'm not a big fan of taking medicine. I'm not going to take a pill every day. And so that just kind of sparked me. And obviously at that time, going back a couple of years, my son was getting close to being born. I had a lot of emotion in my life. I was traveling a lot for work. So many things were happening where I just really started looking forward to being the best version of myself. And I know to be able to do that, I needed to eat better. I needed to exercise more and really go back to what I used to be. And if you guys know me, I used to play a lot of sports and was very active, very fit, and just kind of lost my ways around that. So really with my son being born, my wife being pregnant, my son coming out soon, and with the conversations that I had with my doctor, really I had a conversation with myself at that point saying that I need to start this and I need to start it now. And I think once I set my mind to it, I just never looked back. And I think once you start seeing some progress, it motivates you to just kind of keep going.
Absolutely. Oh, and it shows. And and I know you love reading books the way that I do as well. And for so many people, when they go on that journey, if you don't have that emotional anchor and that emotional reason why to be there for my wife, to be there for my son, to be there for my colleagues, to be there for my family, if you don't have an emotional reason why, you're not going to start, let alone finish. And I think that was great that you took that tap on the shoulder from the doctor. You looked at your life 30,000 feet and said, you know what, I need to be around for my family. And that was just such a powerful catalyst for you.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's more like I need to do this for myself so I can be there for the family, right? It's not like I think the main focus part is like, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me. So then I can be the best for them. It's kind of how, that's kind of how it triggered in my mind.
Oxygen mask first.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right. So you've made the emotional choice. I'm going to change my life. Then what? What was the next thing that you did to start to get traction?
Well, really, Burd, you got to go and analyze and see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and just kind of take inventory of what you're eating, how much exercise are you doing, how much are you doing really to become a better version of yourself. And I'm kind of meticulous about that. And as you guys know, I do my 30-day challenges where I'll take inventory for a period of time on what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, and then I'll implement the challenge. And we'll talk about really more next week on how to do a 30-day challenge for your mind, body, soul. But really for this one, it started out with cutting out soda, cutting out beer, and cutting out energy drink and replacing all that with water. And I started that about a couple of years ago, just very simple. I got into reading the Miracle Morning. And so really, I just changed my lifestyle with waking up earlier in the mornings, being more active, going for a walk in the morning, drinking a lot of water in the morning, reading. And it just kind of, once you start doing something after a while, it kicks in. So really soda, beer, energy drinks was the kickoff. I started eliminating carbs a lot and really got into, how to eat right for your blood type. I don't really follow any specific diet. I just follow what my body tells me that I need to do. But there's definitely a lot of stuff that I took from this. And I think one of the hardest parts was being able to work with Nicole and understanding that she's got her things, I got my things, and how can we blend them together and have a healthier a diet and a healthier lifestyle. So cutting out those drinks, and then from there, really eliminating, or almost eliminating, but cutting out red meat as much as I can, where I would have red meat 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week, and really saying, you know what, I'm going to have red meat 4 times a month. So that means that once a week I'm going to have red meat, cutting out carbs to maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Initially, and then from there you can adjust how you need to do. And I made a lot of adjustments as I went. So cutting out red meat, cutting out carbs, cutting out bad sugars, going to like a stevia if you need to, but really not having sugar unless it's coming from a fruit or in a natural way. Having more acai bowls, and just really the diet part, we honed it in so good where I started eating a lot more salmon, maybe salmon a couple times a week instead of having red meat. And instead of having bread with things, we would make broccoli and doing that. And then eventually once the diet, and I started at 217 when this whole journey started in terms of my weight. And just the diet piece really brought me down to 190. And about 8 months ago in September, I started seeing a notice and I got really motivated. My blood work, I did more and I saw a little bit of an improvement there, but it's still not where I wanted to be. And the doctor still wanted to put me on that medicine. And I'm like, you know what? It's time to get to the gym. And so I started going to the gym around end of September. So it's been about 8 months. And I would go 4 or 5 times a week, do cardio, do lifting. I would talk to friends. Burd, I would pick your mind all the time about food, about diet, about exercise routines, and other friends that I know. And before I knew it, man, it just became a lifestyle for me where I almost needed to go to the gym because of the level of energy that I was getting, how I was feeling. And now I'm sitting at 157. So that's almost a 60-pound change. And really that number, it's just a progress that I've made. I think what's more valuable is how I feel, the level of confidence that I have, how I feel. I'm not cloudy anymore. I'm not lethargic anymore. I have a lot of energy. I need it to run around with a 2-year-old in the house. I need it for my family. I need it for my career, and for my friends. And so really the number is not as important as the way I feel about it. And obviously watching myself get into shape, it's not like you go to the gym and you come home that same day, look in the mirror and you're like, wow, I see the big difference. It slowly progresses. But after you've been doing it for a month or two and it becomes a part of your lifestyle, you do start seeing those changes. And gosh, it got kind of expensive. I had to go through all my clothes, obviously losing that much weight. Nothing would fit me properly anymore. I had to go to the tailor all the time or buy new clothes, but I would do that happily. It was good money that I was spending doing those things because of just how I felt. So really just being very disciplined with that stuff, cutting out a lot of the bad and having it in moderation, but adding a lot more good. In terms of good, I mean broccoli and salmon and spinach and egg whites, and just eating really good, taking protein shakes on. We played around with plant-based. We'll go plant-based a couple days a week. But now I don't crave steaks all the time anymore because it's really changed the way we've done it.
Awesome. Well, and just seeing the structure that you've created, I can tell how that's something that you having your roadmap, because every time we talk, it's I've done this many push-ups this day, or today's the day that is plant-based, and tomorrow I get to have meat, and just creating that structure. And I think what's important about that is for people to realize that's what works for Ray. All of you need to realize it's up to you. It's up to you to be disciplined enough to go, this is what I need to get in the game. And that's critical. It worked exactly for Ray. You may need to have the same kind of structure or come up with another system. But the key is knowing the system that you need and having the conversations that you have to have in your household so your significant others are on board and buying into that system so you can move forward together. Because if you don't have that buy-in and you don't have that structure, you're going to be restarting over and over and over again. We've all been there where you keep hitting the restart switch, start from the beginning, and that's a vicious cycle to be in. The key is to put your train on the track so you can stay on the track and not keep getting back on that roller coaster. So you did a great job with that. And then, I mean, really for you, so we've talked about how you got in the game. We talk about how you're playing the game. And a lot of people, once they hit their goals, they don't stay in the game. That's the key part, is once you start to knock those goals out, what have you done to make sure that you continue to play, to continue to make progress? Because a lot of people go, I lost 30 pounds, I'm good. Then they're back to the Ben and Jerry's, right? So how did you go from 20 to 40 to 60 and stay in the game?
It's Haagen-Dazs for me, actually. That's the weak point for me. But you know, it's I think at the end of the day it becomes you know, how are you holding yourself accountable? So accountability becomes huge. Something, and if you guys know me or talk to me, you know that a couple times a year, maybe even 3 or 4 times a year, I will do a 30-day challenge. And what I do with those 30-day challenges, after I've created them and what they are, and they're always a mind, body, and a soul. So it's not just a physical, it's your health, it's your mental space, it's your spirituality. And once I've created what that 30-day challenge is, I share it with people. I know, Burd, every time I do one, I share it with you, obviously with Nicole at home and with the people that I'm around all the time. Not because I just want to share, hey, look at what I'm doing, but it's more like, hey, hold me accountable. If you see me getting off of this, I need you to hold me accountable. And that's how it was initially. Now it's at the point where when I make them, I hold myself accountable because I know what I gained from it after on day 31 when I come off of it. In fact, the very last one that I did, Eric, and I was sharing this with you before we got on this call. The very last one I did, I cut out red meat for 30 days. You know, initially I was doing it only about 4 times a month, and I cut it out for 30 days. And you know, the ironic thing is when the 30 days was up, for like the next 2-3 weeks, I wasn't even craving red meat anymore. And if you know me, you know that that is a very tough thing for me to do because I love a good old steak. I love me some burgers, but really the steaks. But, you know, I would look at it, I just didn't even have an appetite for it. I would prefer something different. So I do that with my accountability. And as you mentioned, I'm very structured. I give myself targets and goals. And definitely next week, we'll hop into more what a 30-day challenge is and how to create one for yourself. So for me, it's that structure. And obviously right now, you know, none of us can go to the gym. So with being quarantined at home, so I brought that structure home. I do have some free weights in the garage that I do hit, but really I've been doing a lot of push-ups and sit-ups, and I'm giving myself a target every day. And Burd said, you know, I jot them all down, and I got my whiteboard back there, and I've already done 75 push-ups and 120 sit-ups today. Just because, you know, I need that because you know, I told myself I'm going to do 100 push-ups minimum and 200 sit-ups minimum a day during this whole thing. And the cool thing is, we're day 31 now, and I'm starting to notice those differences. I didn't notice it day 1. I'm noticing it now with just doing that stuff. But being able to do that, Burd, I mean, not just starting and maintaining, but to continuing it. I can honestly say that I'm physically in the best shape of my life. I have a lot of energy for my friends, for my family, and I'm still in the creation of the best version of myself right now.
Awesome. No, and it is absolutely evident every time that we've talked, and just it's so exciting to go through your journey with you, because again, I've known you for the better part of a decade, and to see that huge transformation for you has been nothing less than inspiring, you know. So you know, for everyone out there, I think I just take a page out of Ray Ray's book. You know, we all have the ability to make that change in our life. And just starting from what he said is, you've got to have an emotional reason to do it. What's your reason? If you can't come up with that emotional reason, you've got to fight tooth and nail to figure out what that emotional reason is, that narrative. Because if you don't, you'll just keep starting over again. You'll keep starting over again. And that is not good for you. That's constantly getting that tap from the doctor to where you're rebooting it. You lose 20 pounds, you put 30 on. You lose 20 pounds, and it's just not a good place to be in. And then, you know, so once you start, just like we said, develop your system. Whatever your system is, that's up to you. If you're having a hard time figuring it out, call me, call Ray. We'll help you get your system in place, so you have that structure to stay in the game. But looking at that short term and that long term, he's always going, hey, this is how many times I can have meat this week. This is how many push-ups I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do this week. And having that definition to each week. And that also creates excitement and creates that victory. So like we talked about in previous episodes, as human beings, we need accomplishments and victories, and that helps us feel good as human beings. And health and wellness, you can have all the stress in the world going on with your career, but health and wellness is a victory you can create every morning. Hey, I got my running, I got my push-ups in. Today's going to be brutal, but at least I got that victory to start my day off, and it helps you take the day in stride. And then, of course, putting your systems in place to make sure that you stay on the saddle. You keep that train on the track, and then you keep finding exciting new ways to get there, you know. So Ray, just a beautiful, beautiful journey. Thanks so much for sharing, bud. And all you out there, just share. I would love for you to share some of the roadblocks you're running into, some of the systems that you're using. We're seeing a lot of the creative challenges that many of you are coming up with, and other people jumping on board. So that's great. That accountability piece with our peers in that community is immense. You know, we can move mountains when we move together and we inspire each other. But I encourage all of you just to share. We can do this together. Because really, hey, we only have such a limited time here on earth, and why wouldn't you want the most out of your mind, the most out of your body, and the most out of your life? So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in here Friday. Have an amazing weekend, and looking forward to connecting with all of you on Monday. Take care, all.